Hi there, we just released new features and new functionality to UbiOps SaaS. I'm Anouk, I'm the head of product here at UbiOps, and I'll walk you through all the changes in this video, so you know exactly where to find them. The first thing we're going to start with is what we call active instances. We got your feedback that you'd like to know a little bit more about what is actually happening on the background of your deployments when you start sending requests to them. So that's exactly what we added. So let's just go to an example deployment. I've got one right here. And when we go to a specific version, you'll be able to see a new tab called Active Instances. When we go there, you can see all the currently active instances of this deployment that are running in the background, ready to handle your requests. So in this case, you can see that I've already got 5 instances running for this deployment version. So let's go to a different deployment version that doesn't have any active instances yet. Here you can see that, or actually it has only 1 at the moment. So I just send a couple of requests to this so you can actually see the scaling that happens in UbiOps in action. So I'm just going to create a batch request of a couple of different requests, just so you can see the instances starting and spinning up in the background. So I'm just going to send these over. And now when I go to this pending request, you'll see that I also can have access to this information about all the active instances that are currently running in the background, which gives me a little bit of an idea of how long it's going to take probably for this request to be picked up, because I can see there are already 2 instances active. So most likely this request will be picked up quite soon. So when I go to the active instances tab, you can see that I've got 2 active instances that are running and 1 that is currently pending, starting to spin up. So this way, I can really see what's actually going on in the background. And for each instance, I can also see further details like their IP addresses, what kind of instance type they're running on and what kind of environment, and anything that's happening to the instance. This information is also available on project level. So when I go to monitoring, and then again to active instances, here I'll see all the currently active instances in my project where I can see exactly what's going on at any given moment. This is also a great way to double check that there are not any instances that you left on by accident, for instance, that aren't actually meant to be running. Next to these active instances, something else that we added is what we call instance type groups. Normally, when you have a deployment, let's go to this one, and you have a version, they're assigned to one specific instance type. Like in this case, it's assigned to a 256 megabyte simple CPU instance type. In this release, we adjusted that to be able to assign a deployment version to an instance type group. So let's say you've got a deployment version that can run on a T4, but maybe also on an L4 GPU, and you don't really have any preference between the two, both are fine for you. You can now assign that in an instance type group. Let me show you how that actually works. The nice thing is about these instance type groups, which you can find under project admin, project settings, and then instance type groups, is that it actually also allows you to tell UbiOps which instance types are the preferred option for your deployment version to run on or your experiment to run on, and which instance types are the ones that you want to fail over to in case your preferred option is not available. So let's just make an example GPU group. So let's say I've got a model that can run on this, preferably I would run this on the 16 gigabyte NVIDIA T4. But in case that one's not available for whatever reason, I want to switch to this 12 gigabyte T4 because that one also still works for my model. I'll just know that my model might be a little bit slower. So this is how I can assign that in my instance type group. I've got my first priority instance type, my second priority instance type, and I've given it a name. So now if I create this one, I can use this group when creating new deployment versions. So let's go back to my deployments. Let's create a new version. And here under environment settings, when I enable accelerated hardware, you will actually see that this GPU group that I just made is now available as well for my deployment version to run on. Okay, enough about instances. We also adjusted a couple of things for training. Okay, so for training runs, it was already possible to track custom metrics of your training run, like loss and accuracy. But we now also made it possible to track default metrics for your training runs, which UbiOps tracks for you automatically. So in this case, I've got a training run where I now have information about my CPU utilization, GPU utilization, and memory utilization. So I can actually check if my training run is making appropriate use of the hardware that I assigned to it. And next to this added graphs, we also added a couple of extra settings to your experiments that you can tweak. So if I now go to my experiments and I create a new experiment, you'll notice that there's a little section called optional and advanced settings that we added, where there are some more settings for you to play with if you want. things like enabling a static IP address or more information about the scaling and the data retention of your training runs. So this gives you a little bit more flexibility. Other than these training adjustments, there's one more thing I want to show you, which relates to our pipelines. Because we made it possible to now do drag and drop connections also for multi-source connections. So drag and drop was already possible for single line connections. What I want to show you is that you can now also use this if you have multiple objects that you'd like to connect to a next object in your pipeline. So here I've just got a dummy pipeline. Let me add in some objects. So let's say I've got these 2 number multiplier deployments that I want to connect to this third one. So what I can do now is I can drag and drop this first connection, and now I can also drag and drop a second connection, and this will automatically add this to the source objects. So now if I save this connection, you'll see that I now have a nice multi-source connection that I could have also made with drag and drop. We hope you like this. There are a lot of more things that we changed under the hood to improve the performance and reliability of UbiOps, and more of that will be told in our release notes as well. But this is everything I want to show you for now, because these are the big points of this release. We really hope that you like the new features, and we're looking forward to your feedback.